You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Monday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby. How you doing, man?
I'm good, you?
I'm good. You've been left to your own devices. The missus is out of town.
I am riding solo here, yeah.
So my question is this now, because I know you guys are deep in home renovations. Bob Villa over here. Do you continue the home renos while Courtney's out of town, or is it on pause?
No, the boss told me I'm not supposed to do anything while she's not there. Legit. She told me. She said, don't touch anything.
Yeah.
So I can't make any... I don't make... One thing I've learned, I don't make decisions in my life anymore. I just pay for things, brother.
You know what, though? Some people will say, like, I don't get to make any decisions around. Isn't it kind of freeing, though? Isn't it kind of nice to just have somebody else take charge on that sort of thing?
No. No. Sometimes it's like, I'm an adult, too.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, I don't know if she's going to listen to the podcast. This is your chance. If you're feeling away, go home and just start knocking walls down.
No, I don't want to do any of this. I didn't want to do any of it. We're broke. We can't afford to be doing any of this shit.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I had a really good weekend with the exception of one evening of driving. We were out on a highway about middle of the province and doing a little quick road trip on the weekend. And I ran into one of those people, you know, the people who take it like personally when you pass their car?
Yeah, it's like a weird ego thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been there. I think the best thing you can do to get someone to speed up is speed past them sometimes.
And dude, I'm not even really flying. Like, I'm going a little bit. We're on a highway. I'm going a little bit above the speed limit. I'm on cruise control, right? We're on a long drive. And so I'm just going along, and I'm noticing I'm gaining on this car. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to move over into the left lane. 2 lanes.
Yeah.
I'm going to move over into the left lane. I'm going to go past this person so I don't slow down or whatever.
And as soon as you started passing him, he started picking up speed?
Well, no, it was I got past him, and I pulled back over into the right lane, as you're supposed to do. And all of a sudden, this guy rips out from the right lane into the left and races past me. Cuts right back over into the right lane, almost like right on top of me, like right in front of me. I was like, oh. That's weird. And so a couple more times, like, again, I'm on cruise control this whole time. I'm not trying to engage in a race with this person, but I'm like, okay, if it means that much to you, be in front. But then they would slow down, so I would go to pass again, and then that's when, like, still in the right lane, gunning it to not let me by. Okay, I'll go back in.
It's road rage at its finest.
I figured it out. I want to call these people from now on. They're Passholes.
That's actually genius. That's the perfect terminology.
Honestly,
for that.
It's just like, listen, man, I'm just trying to get from where I currently am to where I'm trying to go at the fastest rate of speed I feel comfortable not getting a ticket at. Mm-hmm. If that means I go past you, I'm not doing it to try and insult your bloodline, you passhole. Just let me go.
I like passhole a lot, actually. I gotta mark that one down.
Honestly, it's one of those things. It's right up there with the one we've used on the show so many times.
Cruisers.
The left lane cruisers. It's just like...
Well, and a lot of the times, actually, passholes can be left lane cruisers.
That's true. It's
like a step 1, step 2 program.
They'll see you come over into the left lane and they're like, no, I'm in the left lane now. Like the car that they're allegedly trying to pass so far ahead. And it's this weird, like, Formula One mentality of like, no, I must get to my destination before you or I will be mad.
I assume that none of those people have friends in real life.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Let's get real. There's nothing worse than driving on the roads with other people sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of like self-driving cars and stuff like that, I'm scared for the technology, but I do dream of a future where other people aren't driving.
Yeah, I like to refer to Teslas as robots.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let the robots take over. At some point, we've proven that we suck at it, and we want to come up with some names for some of the most classic offensive drivers that are out there. For example, Steve texted in, said Captain High Beam.
Oh.
Guy who's out on the highway. Just doesn't matter if he's behind you or coming the opposite direction. Just does not care that there are other people there.
You could call them laser pointers as well, too.
Yeah. LASIK clinics.
LASIK clinic is great for any of the people who've got those like LED lights that just shine on you there.
Got a LASIK clinic stuck behind me on the highway the other day, just about crashed.
Yeah.
Also saw one that said backpacks. Someone who's just like a serial tailgater.
Oh, riding your ass?
Doesn't matter if you switch lanes, they switch lanes. You take a right turn, a left turn. Why are you still behind me?
People who don't use their turn signals are kamikaze drivers. drivers.
Just completely flying blind. Who knows where we're going? It's a wild ride. Hang on. Oh, someone said hall monitors. Those people who will get in front of you because they feel like you're speeding, you're going too fast, and they'll slow down.
Oh, they try and check you?
It's like, listen, man, if you've got flashing lights on your roof and the ability to give me a ticket, then by all means check my speed.
Hall monitor also sounds like a trucking term for like a cop's up ahead, too.
Oh, I bet you, you get on the CB and let them know there's
got
some
a couple hall monitors up there, yeah.
Up by the overpass. Ooh, the texting torpedo.
The texting torpedo?
That driver is just always on their phone. Just driving there. You're driving a car at 100 kilometers an hour. What text could possibly be so important that you need to send it right now?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Gotta stay safe out there. We are coming into spring, which means we are starting to hit the cusp of festival season. We are going to be outside. Right. We are going to be watching bands. We are going to be mosh pitting. We're going to be drinking. That's part of it, too. I saw a story, a dude who's married into the royal family through some real obscure channels named Mike Tyndall was giving some tips for equestrian festivals. That's a big thing out there. Lots of horse festivals. Lots of horse racing, lots of gambling, and apparently lots of drinking. Very similar to music festivals. And he was saying that the real key to surviving these things is to alternate between your full-fledged beer and then a non-alcoholic beer of the same brand.
Oh, that's 101. That's standard.
You go one, then one, then one, then one. And he says the key to that is, one, you're not going to get too drunk. And two, you're not going to get made fun of like you would if you were to mix in a water.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I get that. We shouldn't be making fun of people for mixing in water. But I was thinking, you go to festivals almost every year. I've been to a couple in my life.
Yeah.
I was thinking we could come up with some survival tips, some life hacks for festivals.
Well, first one here is if you're going to use the bathroom for a number two, you use the porta potty in the morning and only in the morning. That's the best porta potty you're going to get.
If you can find somebody from the sanitation grounds crew and find out when they get cleaned in the morning, that's a good connection to make.
Another one that I saw recently at Blues Fest, was it last year or the year before, is if you have that friend who gets lost, tie balloons to them.
I saw that. What a brilliant, just like a helium balloon, the kind you'd get for someone's birthday.
Either that or I've heard people get those Apple AirTags, and then you put it in your friend's shoe or whatever, their wallet kind of thing. And
whoever
that way
the flight risk
you're
is.
able to find them throughout the entire festival when you lose them.
You know what's another one that's underrated? Just wet wipes. Wet wipes that you can keep, a little packet that you can keep in your pocket. Again, going back to the porta potty situation, you don't want to be using what's in there. Just in general, wet wipes are going to take care of you in situations.
Or bring some Gold Bond or cornstarch or something.
That's a big one. And it's that, and it's comfortable shoes. People don't think about comfortable shoes, especially for real summer festivals. People want to get out there in flip-flops and stuff like that. You're going to be standing, dancing, jumping, and moshing for a whole day.
I think the best advice I can give to anyone who's never been to a festival before is put your wristband on the opposite hand that you wipe with.
Oh.
The amount of times my wristband is tangled into things that it should not. You got to wear that thing all weekend long, dude. I'm telling you, put it on your non-dominant hand.
If you take nothing away from this show, let that be the lesson you learned today.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
On Saturday, I almost got hit by a driving instructor.
By their car?
I went out to get some food, and as I was walking through the parking lot, I was walking, and I see this car that's attempting to back into a spot.
Okay.
And I was like, well, they see me.
Theoretically.
I see the driving instructor, little light on top of the car, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I start walking, and then all of a sudden this car keeps backing up and back, and I'm like, yo! And I smacked the trunk.
You got close enough to be able to touch the car.
And I was like, okay, it's probably some kid. No, it was just the guy from the driving instructor company. He rolled down his window. He's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't even see you. I wasn't checking my mirrors. And then it hit me. I was like, are you a driving instructor?
Shouldn't you be better at this?
And he's like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I should have been checking. I'm like, yeah, you're a driving instructor. You're doing everything that you're not supposed to do.
Did he have a backup camera and everything?
He had the reverse camera on too. I could see it as I was looking through his window.
If he'd have been looking, which he clearly wasn't, he would have seen your face go, "Hey, I'm walking here."
Yeah, I started yelling at him, and then he's like, "I'm sorry," and then just sped off. And
he fled the scene.
And it was one of the most ironic things I think I've ever seen in my entire life, that a driving instructor almost hit someone.
That's so great.
Right?
I mean, not for you, obviously. I'm sorry that happened to you, but like, of all the vehicles that could almost hit you, I think the only one that would have been more ironic is that story we talked about a while ago of the guy who got hit by an ambulance.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only other vehicle that could hit you that you'd be like, wow, of all things, that's crazy.
It's like when you see a tow truck getting towed. Or if there was a story of like a firefighter starting a fire.
Yeah. Somebody left the stove on or something.
A locksmith who locks himself out.
Right, just an absolute, like, you of all people should know better.
Yeah. And all I could think to myself is, this is clearly not the best driving school in town.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast.
What's the most ironic thing that's ever happened at your job? Someone said, I used to work at the beer store and one of our drivers got a DUI.
That's just bad.
Someone else saw a fire truck on fire once. Best text was someone saying they saw a referee get arrested after a hockey game one time.
That's amazing. I did once see a video of a cop pulling over another cop. It was like, I think it was down in the States. It was like a local cop pulling over a state cop for speeding and trying to give him the ticket. The state cop's like, "But what are we doing here?"
We got someone on the line. What's the most ironic thing you've ever seen?
So I was driving, Speedy Glass van came flying by me in the left lane. I watched stone come off their tire all the way through the air. I watched it and boom, right into my windshield. Great big stone chip in the center.
That's how they get more clients.
Oh, no.
That's what I was thinking. What the hell are chances of that?
That would ruin my whole day. I would not be able to recover from the shambles of that moment.
Just got to laugh it off, man.
All right, we got someone else on the line here. What's the most ironic thing you've ever seen in your job?
I've been driving transport for 40 years, and I pulled into a spot, a loading dock area, and had another driver ask me to back his truck in because he didn't know how to.
Wait, hang on. So this guy got a job driving transport, got in the transport, drove all the way to the dock, and was like, "Oh, right, I don't know how to finish this mission."
Yes, now what do I do? Yeah, can you help me out here? It's like, are you kidding, buddy? Like, are your shoelaces tied? Like, there's a little bit more to it than pointing it down the highway. There's a little bit more to it. There's been other things on that type of a job too. How do I disconnect my trailer? The trailer's too low for the truck. What do I do? Well, it's got dolly legs. Crank them up. Like, buddy, like, use your head for more than a hat rack.
I've never heard that one before, and I love that so much.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast. It's time for Brock and Dobby's Draft.
All right, today is St. Patrick's Day, the day where we honor a guy that wasn't even Irish. If you didn't know, St. Patrick was Welsh.
I just learned that this weekend. It blew my mind.
So we are going to do a draft of the greatest Patricks of all time. You won rock, paper, scissors. You get the number one pick. What are you going with?
Well, I feel like you knew as soon as I won the first overall pick that, of course, I was going to go with a personal hero of mine, somebody that I watched so often growing up and still to this day, and that, of course, Sir Patrick Stewart.
Space, the final frontier.
Great pick.
Absolutely.
These are the
Just
voyages
a
of the
legendary
Starship
Captain
Enterprise.
Picard, not to mention also played in the X-Men movies and so many other great works over the years.
Don't forget all the Family Guy and American Dad that he's done.
That's true. Didn't even think about all that.
Coming in with my number pick, I'm going to go with Patrick Swayze.
Really?
I'm going to go with Patrick Swayze, mainly because...
Roadhouse.
But also, you think about the diversity that guy had in his roles. He could either be a badass
Yep.
or he could be a sweetheart, from Dirty Dancing to everything in between.
Absolutely. Yeah. Patrick Swayze had a star career.
Great set of lettuce on him, too.
Absolutely. Not to mention, had a train named after him in Trailer Park Boys.
That's right. That's right.
Going to round two, I'm going to go with one you may not recognize the name, but you'll recognize the voice. and that is Patrick Warburton, who you may know from Family Guy. He plays Joe. He was also Kronk from Emperor's New Groove.
He's in Seinfeld, the Crazy Devils fan.
That's right. Crazy Devils fan. Got to support the team. Patrick Warburton, he's easy number 2 pick for me.
Coming in at number 2, I hate to admit it, but I've got Patrick Mahomes on the list.
I had him as a pick. I didn't want him either.
3-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time NFL MVP. I mean, as much as I'm a Tom Brady guy, I think if we're talking about GOAT Patricks, you got to have Mahomes on the list.
But also, like, just an absolute muppet. You know what I'm talking about? Round number 3, then that leaves me with somebody who I thought maybe I could get as a late steal here. We never specified that they had to be real Patricks, so I'm going to Bikini Bottom, and I'm taking Patrick Star from SpongeBob. You know Patrick, he's the sidekick to SpongeBob.
I saw it come in a lot on the text line there at 762-555.
Absolutely.
With my number 3 pick, I am going to go with the great Pat Roach, which, if you don't know, is Randy from Trailer Park Boys.
You're setting yourself up for cheeseburgers again, aren't you? Man's got to eat, Julian.
Man's got to eat. The old cheeseburger locker himself, the guy who doesn't wear his shirt, not even in the winter. I'm going with Pat Roach.
Well, here, recap your top 3 picks.
I got Swayze in at number 1. I got Patrick Mahomes in at number 2. And I got Pat Roach, Randy from Trailer Park Boys, in at number 3.
And I've got Sir Patrick Stewart, I've got Patrick Warburton, and I've got Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
You know, it was a close draft, but I got to give it to you.
Victory!
Coming out on top with a W this morning.
That honestly might have come down to a single vote once all the math is done. That was a tight, and I told you off the air, the 2 out of your 3 picks were on my list of names to pick.
Yeah.
A lot of great Pats. We did catch some flack for missing the king of the wheel, Pat Sajak.
Oh, true.
That's who is. I looked it up. It's a Patrick.
No Patrick Waugh on there either for either of us.
There was no chance. If I had been given 1,000 picks, I just hate Patrick Waugh too much.
Now, I did have a weird thought. You know, Pat is short form for Patrick.
Generally.
Also, Patty is kind of an Irish way of calling someone Patrick.
Yeah.
Are there any Patricks out there that go by Rick?
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever met a Rick that's actually a Patrick?
Yeah,
I mean, you'll meet Ricks that are Richards or Dicks that are Richards.
Right, that's generally the consensus. If it's a Rick, the full government name is probably a Richard.
Mm-hmm.
But it would actually make more sense for Rick to be short for Patrick.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever met anybody.
I don't know why my brain just went there. But
who goes in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because even Patty is like P-A-D instead of P-A-T. Rick is right there and no one's using it.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I found a very interesting podcast that I would like to share with you. We've talked about some of these before. People like to listen to podcasts and things of that nature to help them fall asleep. Generally what it is someone will take some sort of content that is generally boring, uninteresting, kind of plain, and read it to them in a sleepy time kind of voice. A woman in Ottawa is getting famous for her new podcast called Pepperoni Pizza Dreams. I'm going to play it a little bit for you. There you go.
Hi, and welcome to Pepperoni Pizza Dreams.
I already hate this.
A podcast filled with food whispers for sleep.
Food whispers?
Whispers for sleep. Now, she says that because the content of her podcast is finding menus online from various restaurants in Ottawa and elsewhere and just reading them without comment. Like, not adding anything to them, just here.
Popular Canadian dish, which consists of just 3 main ingredients. Fries, smothered in gravy.
I can't. Is she talking about
and topped
poutine?
with fresh, squeaky cheese curds.
How could you fall asleep to that? It feels so creepy.
That's the thing. It's the tone of voice, the delivery. That is a woman describing.
Is this a
poutine.
sexual thing for people? Is that what this is?
I don't think that's the intention. I do believe when she says that this is just to help people fall asleep. And I know there's a market out there for people who just want mind-numbing noise.
Is this for people who like don't eat before they go to bed because they're trying to lose weight and so they listen to this?
That's my thought.
Is that what
man.
it is?
I was like, if I was going to listen to this podcast to fall asleep, I would need to put plastic sheets and pillowcases on my bed just to catch all the drool. Like, I'm going to fall asleep while a woman describes a poutine to
Can
me?
someone start like a Leafs version of this podcast so when they lose a game and I'm mad when I'm going to bed, I can like listen to like, one day they'll win.
Just getting reassuring voices.
There's always next year.
The Leafs, There's Always Next Year ASMR podcast. My brother, you are always looking for new ways to make money. Make it happen yourself.
Austin Matthews is our savior.
Okay, now it's a cult.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
You know those BuzzFeed quizzes that are so much fun? Yeah, that's not what this is. It's the quiz with Brock and Dalby.
All right, today's theme for the quiz is songs with cowbell in them because, frankly, I feel like there's not enough cowbell in music. I'm feeling like Christopher Walken. We need more cowbell.
I've never heard a song with cowbell that I wasn't like, that's an all right addition.
So what we're going to do is we are going to play the cowbell for Dalby, and it is up to him to give us the band and the song to get the ding or the shame. So it's either a cowbell or a shame bell for you.
Cowbells and shame bells on the quiz today.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Here's the easiest one.
It's, what's the blue something? Blue oyster cult. Don't fear the Reaper.
I was going to say.
I just wanted to watch you sweat a little bit.
I'm not sweating. I'm fine.
Well, no, it's like a ragey sweat.
Yeah. Number 2 here.
Mississippi Queen.
Yeah.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I might stump you on the band.
I can't remember if it was Rock Band or Guitar Hero, but I know that song well.
2 for 2. All right, let's see if we keep going here.
Ooh. I thought at first... Oh, is that Honky Tonk Woman by the Stones? Ooh, you let it play too long.
It was the guitar that gave it away, wasn't it?
Too long. At first, when it was just like the little taps, I was like, is that a low rider?
Yeah, point to point.
Yeah.
All right, next one here. Gave away the band there with that one.
Yeah, it's Rush.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know Rush.
You don't got it?
No, I don't. Anything I say would be a guess.
In the Mood by Rush. It's in the mood. All right, we keep moving on here. You better get this one. I gotta cut it off before the guitar.
It's Nazareth, Hair of the Dog. Y'all messing with a son of a bitch.
There we go. All right, final one here.
Okay.
I'm not going to let the guitar go on any longer.
No,
Too many giveaways this morning.
Queens of the Stone Age.
Yes.
Is that? No. Little Sister.
Yeah. There you
I almost
go.
said 3s and 7s, but I'm like, no, that's too slow.
5 for 6 on the quiz.
Woo!
And not one shame bell.
Please stop picking Rush. I'm sorry. I just don't listen to them.
You need to be more Canadian is what you need to be.
I need to support more Canadian music. You're right.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Ed's word of the day.
Now, unfortunately, I think Ed may have started St. Patrick's Day early as we did not get a word of the day from him. But Dalby, you're a wordsmith. You got anything for us?
I think a fitting word for today, being St. Patrick's Day, would be shenanigan, or shenanigans, described as secret or dishonest activity, or, as you're more likely to see it today, silly or high-spirited behavior.
Yeah, you're not getting drunk. You're just getting into some shenanigans, you know?
Well, is it wrong to get the fellas together on a Monday afternoon and get into some shenanigans today? Doesn't that just feel like a fitting way to spend a green Monday?
I like shenanigans. I like saying I'm getting up to some shenanigans. It makes things sound a lot more fun and a lot less childish. You
Absolutely. Know? And it always makes me think of Super Troopers, where they have the restaurant with all the crap on the walls.
Yeah, shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Use it wherever you can today, all right?
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.